A lot of people think gods came down from heaven, or some holy book fell from the sky. But that was never the case. You see, long before science, before civilization, before kings, humans were terrified. Terrified of thunder, terrified of earthquakes, terrified of death, disease, hunger, terrified that tomorrow might never come. When a child doesn't understand why their parent is angry, they think they did something wrong. When early humans didn't understand droughts, diseases, or floods, they thought they had angered a powerful being. That's just how our brains try to make sense of chaos. And if people thought they could stop the suffering by pleasing these powerful beings, they would try anything. So humans started looking for a god to look up to, a story, a promise, and a way to survive the terror of being human. Then, religion began as an answer. From the beginning, we were exposed to mystery we couldn't explain, death we couldn't reverse, disasters we didn't understand. Humans crave meaning. We need stories to make sense of chaos. We cannot accept that life is random, or that death is final and meaningless. So we invented gods, spirits, and afterlives. I want you to listen to that again. So, we created gods, spirits, and ideas about life after death. We started telling stories just to avoid blame. Stories like, thunder is the wrath of the Sky Father. The harvest failed because the Earth Mother is angry. When you die, you return to the great beyond. These stories offered comfort, a feeling that chaos had a purpose, that death might not be the end, that we, although flawed, scared humans, were important. Without these stories, early humans would have been crushed by fear, doubt, grief, but they could endure with the stories. But religion was more than comfort. It became the glue that held communities together. When small groups of nomads settled into villages, when farming replaced hunting, life got harder and more complicated. People lived closer together. They depended on each other. They needed rules, trust, and a shared purpose. Religion offered that shared purpose, shared rituals, shared beliefs, a common story everyone bowed to. The gods, the ancestors, the cosmic order, they became the foundation of morality, law, community, a bond stronger than blood. Groups that shared myth, ritual, belief, they were more cohesive, more cooperative, more stable. They cooperated, defended each other, passed on resources, raised children together. Over time, tribes and clans tied together by common gods outcompeted more scattered, isolated groups. In evolutionary terms, this unity was survival. Religion wasn't necessarily about divine truth, it was about human survival. As societies grew, from villages to cities, from tribes to kingdoms, religion became more than comfort and community. It became power. Kings, priests, rulers tapped into the belief system. They claimed divine right. They said, "We speak for the gods. We carry their will." People obeyed because they believed, or because they feared the gods. Either way, religion became a tool to command order, control populations, enforce conformity. Rituals, laws, taboos, they became sacred rules. Sacred rules meant unquestionable. That gave rulers power over lives, over resources, over beliefs. In many ways, religion became the first political system, a system of control dressed in fire, fear, and faith. This is where everything began to change. Religion became powerful not because it uncovered divine truth, but because rulers realized belief could accomplish what violence never fully could. A ruler can force obedience for a day with soldiers, but with religion, he can secure it for a lifetime with a word. And when leaders learned they could attach their authority to the will of unseen beings, the balance of power shifted. People could question a king, but they hesitated to question a god. As a result, temples rose not simply as places of worship, but as political engines. Priests gained influence because they understood the psychology of religion, the ability to turn loyalty into a moral duty instead of a forced obligation. Over time, this partnership shaped entire civilizations. Religious institutions taught people who belonged and who didn't, who was pure and who was impure, who deserved trust and who should be feared. Once people tied their identity to a religious system, abandoning it felt like betraying themselves, their families, and their entire social world. So people had no choice but to follow the religious system they were born into. They obeyed the rules because they believed the rules were from God. Disobedience was now tied to cosmic punishment, far more powerful than any earthly penalty, and obedience was tied to eternal reward. What made religion almost impossible to challenge was its claim to timelessness. Many traditions insisted they were not created but revealed, that their teachings descended from the heavens or originated in some ancient, unchanging past. But everything humans have ever known has a beginning, and religions are no exception. They were crafted by people responding to the anxieties of their era. They evolved as societies evolved. Gods were renamed, rituals adjusted, narratives were rewritten, and sacred texts edited to fit new cultural needs. Despite this constant reshaping, generations continued to treat these systems as permanent and unquestionable. People inherited beliefs without realizing how many hands had edited, polished, and repurposed them. And that is where religion's real strength lies. In its ability to adapt while convincing its followers, it has always been the same. If religion were truly fixed and unchanging, we wouldn't have thousands of versions of it scattered across the world. We wouldn't see gods who obsess over dietary rules in one culture while completely ignoring them in another, and we wouldn't have people going to war in the name of peace. The huge variety of beliefs alone shows how human these systems are. If there were one universal truth, we wouldn't still be debating it after thousands of years. Many religions began as attempts to make sense of death. The finality of death is difficult for anyone to accept. It makes life feel brief, fragile, and sometimes meaningless. Religion softened that reality. It offered second chances, an afterlife, reincarnation, eternal reward, or eternal punishment. These ideas were created to comfort people and to guide how they behaved while alive. Other religions formed because growing societies needed order. Once life became too complex for everyone to do whatever they wanted, rules had to be shared. Religion added consequences that went beyond human enforcement. Breaking a rule wasn't just breaking a law, it meant offending a divine presence. And even when no one else was watching, people believed something was. Long before cameras or governments, religion acted like an early surveillance system. Religion also gave people meaning in their suffering. When tragedy struck, people wanted to believe it mattered, that the pain wasn't random, that the unjust would eventually face justice, and that those who suffered would someday be rewarded. These beliefs comforted individuals, but they also made them less likely to challenge unfair systems in the present, and that convenience benefited those in power. Throughout history, the religions that spread the farthest were the ones that balanced fear and hope perfectly. They offered safety, love, and eternal peace, but only in exchange for obedience. Disobedience came with threats, fire, punishment, exclusion. The cost of questioning was made too high. Even today, many religious ideas survive not because they're logically persuasive, but because they're taught early. Children inherit beliefs before they even learn to think critically. If a child grows up hearing that a book is sacred or a ritual is holy, they accept it long before they learn to analyze anything. That is mental conditioning. And when a person's religion becomes part of their identity, questioning the belief feels like betraying their family or community. Doubts don't disappear, they simply bury their doubts. Some of the worst moral crimes in history were committed with full religious approval. Slavery, genocide, oppression, none of these were mistakes. They were encouraged, defended, and even justified by religious doctrine. Religion often takes basic human decency and repackages it as divine command, as if kindness only matters when it's ordered from above. But morality doesn't depend on myth. It grows when people understand each other, not when they're afraid of supernatural punishment. In many traditions, religious stories were shaped to control women, to restrict their choices, define their roles, and keep them obedient. It's no coincidence that so many major religions revolve around male authority, male prophets, male leaders, male gods. Meanwhile, women are framed as followers, vessels, temptations, or dangers. These ideas weren't revealed from the heavens, they were engineered. Religion didn't just reflect patriarchy, it strengthened it. The same pattern appears with wealth. For centuries, religious institutions have collected enormous amounts of money in the name of God, while preaching humility and detachment from material things. The contradiction is rarely questioned. Massive temples, gold ornaments, expensive estates, and private jets for religious figures make it clear. This isn't spirituality. It's business, and it has been for a very long time. Many religions also borrowed heavily from older ones. Rituals, holidays, symbols, and stories were adapted from previous cultures to make conversion easier and expand influence. What survives today is a collection of ancient ideas, often outdated and disconnected from modern life. Religious institutions remain because belief continues to be profitable and politically useful. Even today, religion is used to influence elections, pass restrictive laws, silence opposition, and shape society, not because it holds objective truth, but because it commands loyalty. People cling to it because it is familiar. But when you begin asking real questions like, where did this belief come from? Who gains from it? Why is it unable to change? The system becomes visible as human, built through repetition and protected by fear. Religions were created out of necessity, and then preserved through tradition and authority. They helped shape civilizations, but they also limited them. They provided answers, but they discouraged curiosity. Wanting meaning is natural, it's human, but meaning doesn't have to come from myth. It can come from relationships, creativity, learning, kindness, struggle, and personal growth. None of these require belief in the supernatural. They only require honesty and the courage to ask where our beliefs truly begin. Religion works so effectively because it's presented as the air we breathe. But when you step back and look, it's clear that religious systems were carefully protected from scrutiny. Question a government, a corporation, or a scientific theory, and curiosity is encouraged. Question religion, and you risk being labeled rebellious, disrespectful, or even immoral. That reaction was intentional. Religions are built to claim authority beyond human challenge, often by attributing themselves to divine, eternal, and all-knowing sources. The truth is far less mystical. Religious texts were written by humans, shaped by their time and culture. They carry contradictions, edits, and priorities that reflect the people who created them. Dietary rules, social hierarchies, and laws often address the practical concerns of their era, which were safety, gender roles, and group cohesion, and not than eternal truths. Religions also anchor themselves in life's most emotional moments: birth, marriage, and death. By becoming the framework for these experiences, they tie belief to feeling, creating a bond that is difficult to separate from devotion. Even if someone doubts the doctrines, the rituals make leaving the system emotionally and socially challenging. Religion also fosters division. By convincing groups they are chosen, it ensures conflict with outsiders who are seen as dangerous or wrong. Many wars, including holy wars, were as a result of competing claims that could not be questioned. Throughout history, religion has been a tool for power. Leaders have used it to justify conquest, control populations, and validate violence. Declaring that God favors a cause makes human actions feel sacred. This manipulation isn't accidental. Religion was structured in a way that allowed it to be used as both comfort and control. Religion was also shaped by scarcity. When resources were limited, people believed survival depended on earning favor from unseen powers. A failed harvest wasn't seen as bad luck or poor planning. It was viewed as a moral failure. The poor were punished for circumstances beyond their control. When things went well, the credit was rarely given to human effort, cooperation, or innovation. It was always attributed to divine intervention. This mindset slowed progress because human agency was downplayed. As science began providing real explanations, religion was forced to retreat. The earth was not flat. Disease wasn't caused by demons. Lightning carried no moral lesson. Slowly, religion shifted away from explaining how the world works and toward answering questions of purpose and meaning. Yet even in this space, it claimed authority without evidence. Meaning, however, is not something discovered in the heavens. It is something we create. Through love, through art, through learning, through helping others, we find purpose. We don't need a cosmic plan to make life valuable. Religion didn't invent this. It simply claimed ownership of it. Religion can provide comfort, but so can stories, friendships, therapy, and community. Comfort is important, but we must ask ourselves, is it the comfort of truth or the comfort of illusion? There is a difference between feeling better and being better. At its core, religion was a story humans told to survive uncertainty. But as we evolved, we created tools that work better. Tools that help us cooperate across differences, rather than divide ourselves into tribes. Religion emerged in a world we didn't understand. When nature was terrifying, rulers needed control, and suffering demanded explanation. It served a function then, but today, its presence persists more out of habit than necessity. We don't need myths to be moral. We don't need rituals to feel connected. We don't need fear to behave ethically. What we need is honesty, courage, and the willingness to ask hard questions, and to accept uncomfortable answers. We have history, evidence, and tools to understand reality without superstition. We can be kind without threat, united without uniformity, human without imagining we are part of some divine experiment. The question now is not why religion was created, but why it still wields so much power. And more importantly, are we ready to build something better? A world guided by truth, understanding, and the freedom to think for ourselves. Thank you for watching. Share where you're watching from. I'd love to hear. Stay curious and take care.